What's going on, guys? It's your boy Jacob from Topside MMA, and today I'm coming at you with my recap and results video for UFC Qatar. Now, we absolutely killed it this week. We went 2 out of 2 on our locks. You guys had one, I had one, you guys had Tsarukyan, I had Yakhyaev. Yes, I did have the easier one this week, but we flipped from last week, so we've gone 4 out of 4 on the last 2 weeks with our locks. Your guys' last 2 have cashed, my last 2 have cashed. We've been on a great streak, so shout out to you guys for the votes. In terms of the play of the week, we had 2 plays of the week this week. They both ended up cashing. Was super excited about both of these. I normally only have 1 play of the week that I give out to you guys for free every single week, but this one week we had 2. Both of them ended up cashing, so I was super excited about that, and I hope you guys made some money this week. Now, if you guys made some money this week with the plays of the week and you like the videos, please consider subscribing. It helps a ton with the videos and helps to keep the channel really growing. So if you guys like the videos, if you like the content, please subscribe, drop a comment, drop a like. It really goes a long way. So thank you guys for all the love. Now, we talked about this in the best bets videos too. We had a 10-year plus age gap. We talked about this. The younger fighter wins about 72% of the time, although Muhammad versus Gary was about a 9-year difference. We figured, all right, 3 out of 4 of these are probably going to win. Now, we ended up getting it. I thought Saygid was going to beat Dalby. That was the 1 out of the 4 that ended up getting it wrong. It ended up, I thought it might have been oral buy. I thought maybe he was the one to sell. He wasn't. So it was kind of interesting how we were talking about this. So I was pretty happy about this though. I broke it down for you guys. I hope this helped. We were looking at some of the statistics behind these 4 fights. We got 3 out of 4 right. That's exactly what we were thinking. Just one off in terms of who actually did it. But yeah, I was pretty happy with the results on this one. Had a good read on the data for this week. So next up, for this was the pre-slate bets. I was so pissed. I had this one bet that I had actually placed. That's why I have it here. This little DraftKings bet there. It was a 2-leg parlay. I meant to have it on my best bets video, but I forgot to include it. That's why I put it here, because you can see the date on this bet. I placed it November 20th at 9:11 a.m. So I placed it. It was meant to be on the best bets video, so we should have made even more money on the pre-slate bets this week, but I forgot to include it this one. So that's on me. I'm not counting it, obviously, because it wasn't in the best bets video, but I just had to say, I was like, damn it, I had this. I placed it. It was going to be on this video. I just didn't ended up putting it on there. I didn't have it on there. So I was pretty happy with the results though. For the pre-slate bets, we ended up cashing, make 0.33 units, up about 7% ROI. Super happy with this. This was my total slate on the night. I was going crazy with the live bets, and we're going to talk about some of these throughout this video. The one that really stood out to me was we cashed really big on Nick Dalby. Ended up getting a nice money line spot on him. We'll talk about that one too. And besides that, I had a couple parlays added at the bottom. But yeah, we'll talk about these fights. We'll break them down one by one. Ended up cashing it. The only live bet that really kind of screwed me was what's his name, Tsarukyan. I did have more than enough action on him, more than I probably should have had. But yeah, besides Tsarukyan, this was a really good card for live betting. Had a ton of success. So we'll talk about that. We'll break it down a little bit on my thoughts and methods behind all that and what I was thinking. So we'll go over all these. Also, for the picks, ended up doing pretty good. I forgot to have the damn Topuria fight. I forgot to put that on my Tapology because I had the poll that you guys did. I forgot to actually put it on my Tapology. I know you guys ended up going with Bekzat, so I'm honestly kind of glad I forgot to put this back on my Tapology, but it is what it is. It did pretty well with the picks, 10 out of 13. We were rocking with it all around. A great week. Now, we'll go fight by fight. Now, first up, I placed this one bet on this fight as a tiny little bit before the fight started. I had Denzel Freeman via decision. I was looking at this. I saw it was plus 650. I saw, okay, we knew Denzel Freeman was a wrestler. We knew Bujlo was a BJJ black belt. We knew it was going to be a lot of activity on the ground. And with heavyweights, they're not as nimble. They're not as agile. They're not wrapping up some crazy omoplata or something. They're not that agile. They're just too big. Their limbs can't move that way in all these different directions. So I figured it was going to be a lot of time on the ground. And with Denzel Freeman being a really high-level wrestler, I figured, maybe he just controls him for 15 minutes. Now, that's not what ended up happening. It was the exact opposite of that. It was a 15-minute sparring match on the feet of striking where neither guy really seemed like they wanted to really engage or do all that much. Maybe they were just afraid of each other's power. Maybe they were afraid of the other one taking the other one down. I don't really know. I was pretty happy with this. This was a decent hit. Very small, only 0.05 units on this one, but a little plus 650 to start off the card. I was pretty happy about this one. I placed this one earlier this morning. But yeah, overall this fight, kind of boring as a whole. Denzel Freeman deserved the win, but it was super close. Can't really say this was all that entertaining in terms of what you do with both of these guys. Marek Bujlo, he's young. He has a ton of time to get better. But Denzel Freeman, he's a bit older, so he kind of needs to ramp it up. Not the best performance, but he got the win, so that's all that matters. So I guess shout out to Denzel Freeman. At least we had our American brother get the job done, so I was rooting for him in this one. But anyway, next up we had Nurullo, Aliev versus Rock. Now, I just think Rock is just not quite UFC level. He got dominated everywhere this fight went. I mean, he was getting rocked on the feet. He was getting destroyed in the grappling. He really had no success at all throughout this fight, except maybe like 1 or 2 brief moments. Besides that, though, he just really did not look good. And Nurullo Aliev, this is a bit of a back and forth where, is Aliev just better than we thought he was? or is Rock just worse than maybe his record suggested? Because although he hasn't really fought the best level of competition, he didn't look terrible on the regional scene. 12-2. He didn't look as bad as I thought he was going to, or he looked worse than I thought he was going to. I thought he would have maybe a little bit more success. But he started to slow down. Cardio wasn't great. He was getting hit with some shots. You could tell he really did not like to strike at all. So he's just too one-dimensional to probably do well in the UFC at all. I don't know what they do with him from this point moving forward, but in terms of Nurullo Aliev, he was going for the finish. I gotta say, this was probably the most entertaining Nurullo Aliev fight we've seen so far in the UFC. He was going for it, but yeah, he just couldn't get it, even though he was wailing on Rock. I will say, actually, this fight was a little bit more entertaining than I thought it was going to be, so I guess shout out to Aliev. He got the win here and definitely deserved it. But next up, we had our boy Naurdiev versus Ryan Loder. Tale as old as time, wrestlers turn strikers. I mean, I know this was so fast, 1 minute and 26 seconds in, but I just don't know. I don't know why Ryan Loder was decided to stand and strike against a guy like Naurdiev. Naurdiev does have big power, and I was honestly kind of happy with this breakdown. When we broke this fight down, that's kind of what my thought process behind this was. It was likely going to be a Naurdiev finish early. Literally in my video, I forget if it was the best bets or the weigh-in recap, whichever one. I literally said it was likely going to be Naurdiev finish under 1.5 rounds or Ryan Loder over 1.5 rounds. And that's exactly what we had here. We had Naurdiev just came in, walked him down, knockout early. Ryan Loder was out cold. So at this point, Ryan Loder just needs to stick to what he's good at. He's just too old to be trying to be some super well-rounded fighter. He just really needs to stick to the wrestling. He probably just needs to be a crotch sniffer if he wants to get wins in the UFC. Because other than that, I don't know who he's going to beat. This was a pretty bad look because Naurdiev's really not some world beater guy who's just destroying everyone in his path. We saw he looked pretty bad in that fight against Park, so I'm not too impressed with this performance. I mean, it was a great knockout. Don't get me wrong. Extremely impressive knockout, but just, I don't know. This seemed like Loder just kind of gave this one away. He didn't really stick to what he was good at, and he paid the price for it. But anyway, next up, we had Topuria versus Bekzat Almakhan. I know you guys ended up voting for Bekzat, and honestly, I was going to keep it too. I was like, I really wanted to pick flip to Topuria, and it was my gut was calling for it, but I was like, I'll put it in your guys' hands. So I really could have gone either way on that. That didn't really affected all that much. I'm not too mad about this one at all. It was a good fight though, and I will say it was kind of interesting. Sometimes power can beat speed. I put that on here. Topuria's shots were just knocking Bekzat around. Early on, Bekzat had a really good advantage. His speed was really a difference. He was landing, he was popping shots. He was a lot faster than Topuria was early on, but it's just the second Topuria started to land, he started to break him down and wear him down, and Bekzat was afraid of the shots coming back. He was afraid of everything coming back his way. So at that point, later in the third round, his face was completely busted up. He was damaged. He was getting cracked on the feet, and he was just too timid to engage, and Topuria really took over the longer this fight went on. So I was pretty happy with this. I had a really nice live bet spot. I had a perfect hedge on this one. I got Aleksandre Topuria live money line plus 154. This was towards the end of the first round, and the line completely flipped. And I was like, okay, this is a decent spot. Plus 154. Basically, the odds completely flipped on their ass. I'll take a very small shot on Aleksandre Topuria live money line plus 154, 0.1 units, and then it completely flipped the other way around. It was like late in round 2, I believe. I had a nice little play Bekzat Almakhan live money line for plus 340, 0.05 units. So at this point, if whoever won, regardless, it was going to be a profitable fight for me. So I played this one super light. Obviously, it didn't end up being a whole lot. It was 0.1 units, but still, hey, small wins add up over time. This is why I like the live betting side, because you can really get a good edge where otherwise you couldn't have had this before the fight started. So this was like a perfect hedge. Was super excited about this one. And Topuria looked great. Besides the bets, Topuria looked absolutely phenomenal out there. I will say he looked damn good. He just has the exact same fighting style as Ilya. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm excited to see what he does next. And Bekzat, honestly, you look at this guy's record. He's like, what, I guess 0-2 now in the UFC? Like, or no, or 1-2, because he beat Katona. But yeah, besides, like, you look at his record, he's probably one of the best guys in the UFC with that 1-2 in the UFC record. I mean, you look at 1-2 in the UFC, you probably think, oh, this guy sucks. But no, he's actually damn good. Bekzat is very talented, so it'll be interesting to see who he fights next. And honestly, whoever he fights next, it'll probably be a good spot, a good buy low spot on Bekzat Almakhan, because he's still very skilled. But anyway, next up, this was the best fight of the entire night in terms of the slate. We were eating on this fight. We cashed big. Our boy, Abdul Rakhman Yakhyaev, we had to win inside the first 60 seconds. He didn't even need it. As you can see from here, he gets it in the first 33 seconds. So we turned 0.05 units into a nice little 0.44 units of profit. Absolutely cashed. I was so excited about this one. He started walking Cerquiera down. And at that point, I knew it was over. He was landing some big shots. He rocked Cerquiera, and Cerquiera just folded over. I was surprised about the submission. We had multiple bets on this fight, and I was going for the KO or sub because everyone was saying, Cerquiera is a BJJ black belt. There's no way he's going to get submitted by Yakhyaev. He should be the better grappler. If you get launched and you get separated from consciousness, the BJJ black belt goes out the window. Like if your head's not straight on and you don't even know where you're at, yeah, all that BJJ black belt skill is completely gone. So it honestly kind of looked like that. He got cracked on the feet, he got rocked, taken down, and at that point Yakhyaev wrapped up a rear naked choke so damn fast. It was like in a second. It was crazy. He wrapped it up so fast, and Cerquiera had absolutely no shot of getting out of it. Cash on this one in terms of we had this in the play of the week as well. But yeah, we had the first 60 seconds absolutely cashed plus 870. And then we had the win in under 0.5 rounds, plus 180, 0.1 units. These were both on the pre-slate bets, so I was super happy if you guys tailed these. Absolute cash. Completely smoked this one clear as day. Awesome win for the boys, so I was super excited about this one. And Yakhyaev is a real damn good talent, so I'm excited to see what he does in the future. Cerquiera, yeah, he's probably going to get cut. But anyway, next up we had Perez versus Almabayev. I was honestly pretty happy with this read because we picked Almabayev, but I had it as a low confidence pick, so I was like, okay, Perez does have good defensive wrestling. We know that. We've seen it against high-level wrestlers like Muhammad Mokaev in the past. He's done really well in terms of the defensive wrestling, so I think he could do the same against Almabayev, and he did. Almabayev was on his way to losing this fight. I believe going into the third round, Perez was I was looking at this because either one of them was like a minus 350 or Asu was a plus 350. The odds were completely insane, and Perez was the favorite. So at some point in this third round, there was probably a great live betting spot on Almabayev. I didn't get there. I wasn't really even trying to go for it because I thought Almabayev was honestly going to lose this fight, and he was on his way to losing this fight, but he ended up having that nice submission, standing guillotine. As you can see in this picture on the right, it was absolutely insane. He just wrapped it up in a second. It's like, damn, Perez, he threw this fight away. We had Asu as the pick, so I was excited about that, getting that one right, but honestly, Perez was going to win this fight. I mean, he was on his way. He was just a step ahead on the striking on the feet, even though, I will say, that's why I had these 2 points here. Perez is still good, but the sub-defense is a major flaw. He just gave that one away. He just completely gave that fight away. And then 2, Asu's striking did look a lot better than before, and it was pretty impressive to me, because we knew, going into this, that Perez was going to be the better striker on the feet, but also Almabayev did look pretty damn good. He was having a lot of success against Perez, maybe not beating him, but still, for a guy who's basically just a chain wrestler, wrestle or bust, he did look very much improved in the striking, so that was impressive for me. And yeah, great win for Almabayev, real come from behind win, so shout out to him. He deserved this one. He looked pretty good. But next up, we had Dalby versus Saygid Izagakhmaev. Oh my god, this was one of those. I talked about this one. It was I forget. I think it was the best bets video when we talked about this one, but I was like, you know what? This is like Apache mix type of a fight. I was like, everything's going in his favor. We're in Saygid's part of the world. He has Team Khabib in his corner. He's training with Islam. I look in the pre-fight video where they're showing him warming up. He's warming up with Islam. He's gone around the country or around the world with Islam, training for all of his opponents in big fights, like against JDM. He was in his corner. He was working with him. He was one of the main training partners. I'm like, this guy has grown up with Team Khabib, the best wrestlers, the whole family on planet Earth. I mean, he's training with some of the best wrestlers on planet Earth, and he can't get past Dalby. It was just a horrible performance all around from Saygid. It was probably one of the worst performances I've ever seen. I mean, he had no heart, he had no skill, he had no durability, he had no cardio. I mean, it was just all around an absolute dumpster fire. Saygid looked so terrible. It blew my mind how bad he looked. I was genuinely mind blown how bad he looked. And I had a bet on Saygid. For 1 unit, I had a bet on him. And as you can see, though, I placed 2 live bets on Dalby. This was the first one I had. I was trying to think. It was towards the end of the first round, plus 250. Because you can see, you're like, all right, Dalby started to take over the longer this fight went. How could you get one at plus 250? And then the second one that you placed was plus 450. I don't even know. That's exactly why I placed it. I doubled down and placed 2. The first one was either at the very end of the first round or very early into the second round. I forget exactly when, but it was very early on in this fight. And it was plus 250. And he was obviously, that's kind of where the line was to begin with. But I was like, Dalby won the first round. I was like, yeah, Saygid has we're in his part of the world. He has the Islam advantage. He has some things going for him. He definitely has, if this is a split, and it was a split, but if it was like a very close split decision, maybe that little extra edge towards Saygid is making the line so far wide, but I'm like, okay, Nick Dalby won the first round, and Nick Dalby's the type of guy that ramps up as a fight goes on. So I'm like, okay, he's up 1-0, plus 250, that's great value. If there's 0.1 units or 0.15 units, plus 250, like I said, towards the very end of the first or very early in the second round, and then second round comes around, it's very close, back and forth. Somehow, this was about halfway through the second round, I believe. Halfway towards the later parts of the second round, he jumps up to a plus 450 underdog. And I'm like, he's won the first round. And Saygid is, at this point, he's starting to slow down a bit. And I'm like, all right, this is getting even more favored towards Dalby, but the line's moving the complete opposite way. This makes absolutely zero sense to me whatsoever. And we know Nick Dalby's obviously a guy who works and he ramps up and gets better the longer the fight goes on. We saw Saygid death gassing. I mean, he was starting to get dead tired after the first round. So I knew, I was like, okay, this guy's cardio is going down. Nick Dalby does better the longer the fights go on. Easy, double down, plus 450, 0.1 units. So thank God these ended up cashing. And the fact that this went to a split decision was absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, this was like a 30-27. I don't think Saygid had any moments hardly at all of success. I don't think he won a single round. This was like all around. Nick Dalby showed him who's boss. He had more heart. He had better grappling. I mean, Nick Dalby at 41 years old looked career best. And Saygid, you can see it, they're writing down here. Congratulations, Saygid. You just earned yourself a one-way ticket to the special list. Welcome home, Saygid. You have earned yourself the spot. Nice in there. You see it, nice little fifth spot. I got to come up with something new when we start expanding the ban list, because you better believe there will be more people on this ban list. But Saygid, welcome home. You're now number 5. Say hello to the ban list, Saygid. But anyway, this was not the best fight, I will say. In hindsight, it was like, oh my goodness. He had everything going for him, but just he had no heart, no will to win. Didn't even seem like he wanted to be out there. And that's something I can't really tell. I couldn't have known that beforehand. We haven't seen him fight in 3 years. Something like that from the Khabib guys. That's the one thing these guys have is heart. You know, even when guys like when Cerquiera, we'll talk about that fight. When he went out there and lost, he was giving it everything he had. He just got clipped. He was not the better man. I respect that loss a ton. You know, he just wasn't the better man. This was like, he didn't even want to be there. So, yeah, Saygid, welcome home, buddy. But anyway, in terms of that, it is what it is. But next up, we had Bogdan Grad versus Luke Riley. And I was honestly very happy with the read on this fight, because we were talking about this one. I told you guys, like, all right, Luke Riley, we've seen major holes in his game. We have seen him chinned, and we have seen him dominated in the wrestling against much lower level of competition. So since we've seen that, I'm not having a ton of trust in him that he could hang in the UFC. And I was worried about the size factor. We talked about it during the weigh-in, saying, okay, Luke Riley looks a lot bigger than I thought he was going to look. Like, the size difference between these two looked crazy at first, but then when you saw him at the face-offs, I was like, oh my God, Luke Riley's actually a big dude. So I was pretty happy about this one. We kind of picked our spots on this in the sense of, we knew Luke Riley did have good cardio. We talked about that, and we said, Bogdan Grad, yes, he's a guy who chin is arguably pretty suspect. We knew it could happen, but I figured for this type of a super wide line on Luke Riley, it just wasn't worth it. He was a minus 300 favorite, or just about. I think he was like a minus 270, 280, somewhere in there. So it was like, for those odds, absolute trap, was not worth it. I hit a nice little live bet on him, Luke Riley, in the spot. This was at the end of the first round. And like, what happens in this first round? Exactly what we talked about. Luke Riley's grappling is not great, and it got exposed in this fight. Bogdan Grad dominated in the grappling for the first round. Although the first round was completely different than the second round. The first round, we called it, spot on. His grappling really is a weak point in his game. It's something he needs to work on. But at the same time, we also talked about how with Luke Riley, his cardio is really good. And we've seen Bogdan Grad, when he pushes fights at a very high pace, he does start to slow down the longer the fights go on, like we saw against Michael as well. So there was that concern in the back of my mind that I told you guys about. And that's exactly what happened. It all came into fruition. Not necessarily that Bogdan Grad death gassed or anything like that. He just stopped wrestling. He said, screw the game plan that just worked perfectly in the first round. Let's stand and turn into Mike Tyson. He paid the price, got knocked out, and Luke Riley looked really good. You know, it was good to see him deal with the adversity, come back, get the win. It was fire. So in terms of the bets on this one, we had the decision prop, and I even talked about it in the best bets video. If you guys go back and watch that clip, that when we talked about this fight, I literally said, I was like, my favorite bet for this is the decision only. I was like, I can't cash out the plus 7.5, but if I could go back, I would cash it out. So I ended up, of course, the 7.5 ended up missing, but it is what it is. It was a very small bet, plus or minus 125, 0.15 units on this one, and the decision only KO or sub, no action, plus 195, 0.10 units. Ended up being a complete refund, obviously, because KO or sub, no action, meaning you get a refund if there's a knockout or sub. Obviously, there was the knockout, got a refund on that, but hit a nice little live money line spot. Luke Riley live money line, minus 105, 0.1 units. But basically, still ended up just barely negative on this fight, minus 0.05 units, but had a nice little spot. Especially, this is one of those fights, too. If you get a fighter like this, Luke Riley, where we know he kind of ramps up the longer fights goes on, and we know that a Bogdan Grad starts to slow down, you get a minus 300 or just about favorite at a minus 105 after one round. No brainer, good spot. I was really happy about this live bet. So yeah, and honestly, with the fight as a whole, I feel like we had a really good read on it, so I was pretty happy with it. But anyway, next up, we got Tsarukyan Ulanbekov versus Kyoji Horiguchi. This is where my live bets, in the bets that I had after I put the best bets bet video out, they were all live except for pretty much very early on the night. We had the Denzel Freeman by decision, and I had a couple parlays later on with Armin Tsarukyan that we'll talk about at the very end. But in terms of the live bets, I was on fire. I don't think I missed a single live bet up until this point. Tsarukyan Ulanbekov did screw me on the live bets because I thought, honestly though, this live bet did end up missing, but I was extremely happy with it because it was a really smart play because I was looking at this from, okay, the first round, Tsarukyan Ulanbekov, there's back and forth. It was pretty competitive. This was the second round where he gets hurt. And in my mind, I thought, okay, it was competitive, but I think Tsarukyan Ulanbekov, maybe he won that first round. He's in the part of the world that's going to favor him. Let's say he's up 1-0. Second round comes around, he gets hurt by Horiguchi. So I'm like, okay, he gets hurt, he gets dropped, but like not in a terrible sense. Okay, maybe he loses this round. Now we're 1-1 going into the third round. He has the home cooking going for him. He's a good grappler. He can just do exactly what he did in the first round, repeat it in the third round. He can probably do well. Tsarukyan Ulanbekov doesn't have elite cardio, but he does have decent cardio. He can push a pace for all three rounds. So I was like, okay, it's going to be 1-1. We got Tsarukyan Ulanbekov. He's one of the Khabib guys. If this is a crazy split decision, it's probably going his way. So I was like, okay, plus 390, no brainer. This was in the second round because he got rocked and then he recovered decently well. And I was like, okay, he's probably going to lose this round, but I went ahead, 0.25 units plus 390. I thought it was great value. I still stand on it. I think it was great value. Ended up missing, obviously. But yeah, it was a one-sided ass kicking in that third round. I thought he might be able to come back after the third or after the second round into the third round. No, he came through. Horiguchi was on demon time. I literally say Team Khabib nightmare scenario after Saygid and then Tsarukyan. I mean, they got ran through. It was absolutely insane. But yeah, this one was crazy. Like I said, this one surprised me. I did not think Tsarukyan was going to get submitted like this. I didn't think he was going to get ran through. I mean, Horiguchi kicked his ass. I did not see that one happening because I had a plus 7.5 on Tsarukyan Ulanbekov in a parlay too. So I really thought this was going to go long. And if it would have gone long, it would have hit the 7.5. So I was like, damn it, Tsarukyan, let me down. Team Khabib nightmare scenario for them and me both. I was like, this is the one live bet that ended up going south. But anyway, at least Horiguchi, he deserved it clear as day. He looked great, so I'm excited to see him back in the cage here soon. But anyway, next up, we had Waldo Cortes-Acosta versus Shem Gaziv. Now, great read on this one. When we were talking about this in the best bets video, in the pre-slate in the green, I had a small bet quarter unit on Waldo Cortes-Acosta money line, as you can see. This was just because I literally told you guys in the best bets video, I was thinking, if this was a full training camp, if both guys had a full camp, Waldo Cortes-Acosta would have been the play of the week. I literally said that in that video because Waldo Cortes-Acosta is kind of like the kryptonite to Shem Gaziv. We've seen in the past against Rosenstruik. Just a decent level boxer, right? Even a good level boxer. Waldo Cortes-Acosta is good, but like a Rosenstruik, just a good level boxer who can pump a jab. Shem doesn't really have a whole lot of answers for that, and that's exactly what happened in this fight. I was super excited about this one. Ended up running right through him. For some reason, I thought I had the wrong picture here, but I do have the right picture. This is the right picture. But yeah, this was really good. Ended up doing pretty well in this one. We had the pre-slate bets in the green, and also, if I haven't said it yet, the ones I put in blue were bets that I added after the best bets video. So those are on a separate slate that we're going to talk about at the very end, just to keep separate. But yeah, basically, I just doubled down on Waldo Cortes-Acosta money line, minus 155. The odds got worse, so I obviously couldn't get that minus 142 doubled. I had to get it at a slightly worse line, but I ended up cashing, so I'm not too mad. And I also had a little sprinkle on Waldo Cortes-Acosta round one only because I figured, okay, Waldo's coming halfway across the world, 2 days notice. If his cardio gives out, it's not going to give out in the first round. Waldo Cortes-Acosta has tremendously good cardio, and it's been like that his entire career. He's always had good cardio, so I wasn't too worried about him stepping up on 2 days notice, but he does have really good cardio, and he has really good durability as well. So if anyone's getting starched in the first round, I figured it was likely going to be Shem. So ended up cashing on this one. I was really excited about this. For minus 115, I didn't even see this before the fight started because this line and this fight got added so damn late, I didn't even notice it at first. But yeah, I was just going through before the fight started, and I was like, bingo, I like this line. So I added a small little play, 0.15 units, cashed on both of those. And yeah, did pretty well in this fight, made some coin. Shout out to Waldo Cortes-Acosta. But then next up, we had Jack Hermansson versus Mitzabek Oralbai. damn, this was brutal. This was a brutal fight. I mean, oh my goodness. Jack Hermansson, this 170 cut was not the move. It was not the good play for him. It was not a good look. He gets knocked out brutally, very quick. First round, 246 on the clock. Not a good look. It was brutal. It was a nasty knockout. I do feel bad. I had the one live bet. I was kicking myself because the bet type I put as because literally I couldn't even place it. I was watching this. I was like, okay, I want to see how these guys start to fight. I was going to see how the fight progressed, what type of game plan both guys were going to go for. Because if Oralbai came out here looking good on the feet and Hermansson wasn't just panic shooting takedowns immediately off the bat, I was like, okay, let's do a little live spot on Oralbai. If this line tightens up, if they're just striking back and forth for a couple minutes, it could tighten back up. It drops to minus 180. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, this could be a nice spot. And I go to place it, and then the line shoots up to minus 250. And at that point, I'm like, minus 250. That's basically where it was pre-fight. I'm like, I'll just wait. 3 seconds later, Jack Hermansson gets flatlined knockout. I'm like, damn, I should have just placed the minus 180 because it was better than the pre-fight line. So I was like, that probably was a good deal. I should have jumped on that one. So I literally put the bet type as because I didn't get it. I didn't put anything on it, but it was right there. I just had to talk about it. I was like, damn, it was good read. Just wasn't fast enough, but and it would have cashed too. That was the worst part. But anyway, Oralbai looked really good. He got the knockout, looked damn good. Hermansson, he's got to move up to middleweight again or retire. I don't know. His chin is just absolute dust. That was a bad knockout. And 4 months after he got knocked out before. And honestly, that's why I said too, ultimately poor game plans equal poor results at the bottom there. Why was he trying to strike? Why did he not try and grapple? He looked huge. He was massive out there. Didn't try and grapple, didn't try and wrestle. Tried to strike, paid the price for it too. He got caught. So I feel bad for Hermansson. I do feel genuinely bad. It was a bad knockout, but hope he recovers, takes some time off, goes back up to middleweight, kind of chills a bit. But anyway, next up, we had Volkan Ozdemir versus Alonzo Menafield. Play of the week absolutely cashes. I know it's not on here. It's at the very end. We'll talk about it. But the second play of the week cashes clear as day. We cashed on this one. I was super excited about it. But yeah, Volkan Ozdemir. We were talking about the Volkan Ozdemir by KO prop. It did end up hitting, but I just didn't have anything on it. I didn't play it. After the earlier fights, I was like, I'll set this one off. We already had a unit on his money line straight up. So I was like, all right, I'll take this one off. But hey, cash clear as day. If you did tail, congratulations, because that was a good line. Plus 125. I know the value really wasn't great. It was just one of those, literally, I think that's exactly what I said in the best bets video. Like, the value isn't great, but at the same time, I genuinely think there's a high probability this is the most likely outcome of this fight. Ended up happening, so I was happy about the read at least. We got the read right. But yeah, Volkan Ozdemir walked Menafield down, looked great. He was just a better fighter. It's kind of what we talked about. Pretty clear win for Volkan Ozdemir. Good to see him back in the win column. But anyway, next up, we got Bilal Muhammad versus Ian Gary. I had a pretty stupid, I literally called the bet type stupid on Ian Gary. Round one only. Any other outcome, no action, minus 500. I was like, okay, if anyone's getting a round one finish, it's going to be Ian Gary knocking out Bilal. This didn't end up happening. It was just kind of stupid, but I put it in there anyway. But yeah, Ian Gary looked pretty good. Bilal Canelo hands Muhammad. He's done with the wrestling. He doesn't want to do it anymore. I know on paper he shot a ton of takedowns, and he had some good moments up against the cage where he was just racking up control time. He's just fallen in love with the hands. He wants to prove to people that he's a good striker, and yeah, this is probably the end of Bilal Muhammad. At this point, this is kind of like a Leon Edwards situation of where this just might be the end. This might just be the downfall, because he obviously says, screw the game plan, screw that. I just want to stand and strike. I want to beat Canelo. And you know what, Bilal? Do what you want to do. Who am I to tell you what to do? But he's probably not going to win fights at this level anymore. I took a small sprinkle to Bilal Muhammad live money line. The only reason it was plus 360, it was later on in the second round, I believe. It was quite literally because Ian Gary kept poking Bilal in the eyes, and he got 2 eye poke warnings. So in my head, I was like, oh shit, 2 eye poke warnings. One more eye poke, even accidental, Gary's getting a point taken off. If Gary gets a point taken off, maybe this is a 1-to-1 fight. Maybe that could swing things for Bilal. It's like literally the only reason I placed this live bet on Bilal was purely because of the potential of a point taken away from the eye pokes, because he was on 2 warnings. Ended up not happening, obviously. But I was like, honestly, not a terrible play, because we were in the part of the world where I'm surprised he didn't get a point taken away after 2 pokes. I was surprised. I thought for sure he might take a point away. I was a bit worried, honestly. But yeah, Ian Gary looked pretty good overall. He was just beating Bilal to the punch. He was just the better striker. Bilal's wrestling wasn't really there. He had some moments where he was trying, but it just wasn't all that effective. Ian Gary definitely deserved the win. So yeah, shout out to Ian Gary. In terms of what he does next, who knows? I don't know who he fights next. He was calling out Islam. He wants to fight for the belt. We'll have to see what happens there. But anyway, next up, we had Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker. Dude, this was one of those fights where I was just sitting there watching it like, dude, I genuinely feel bad for Dan Hooker. I mean, he had moments, you know, there were like a couple tricky spots where he almost had Arman in some type of sub attempt, like once or twice throughout this fight. But besides that, dude, Arman was just beating him up. I was going to put a picture of the aftermath of Dan Hooker's face, but I literally didn't want to get flagged for like violence or anything. It was that bad. I mean, it was all messed up. If you haven't seen it, check the pictures. It was all puffy and blown up. Nasty work. But yeah, Arman ran right through him. Or maybe not ran right through him, but it was a one-sided ass kicking. Dan Hooker had like a couple moments, brief moments of success. But besides that, it was one-way traffic for Arman. He looked great on the feet, on the ground. Absolute masterclass from Arman Tsarukyan. He looked damn good. But anyway, in terms of the play of the week and the parlays, back-to-back, 2 out of 2 on the plays of the week that ended up cashing. Saygid ended up taxing us on the damn other parlay with 1 unit. I was so pissed. And then after that, Tagir ends up getting finished. I was like, oh my goodness. So the ones that missed, I'm not too mad about. Honestly, it was like they should have hit, but it is what it is, part of the game. And then also, you can see I had the round robin, different 2 little bets there. It's the same thing. It's just I have all these lines, they're all calculations and whatnot. I put in the odds and the amount, and it does all the work for me in terms of like what to win and the results depending on if I have yes or no's. But with this one, there's no odds on a round robin. It just depends on who wins or loses. So I doubled it just to like duplicate it, but I didn't count it twice. Obviously, it's the same thing there. The first one at the very top, you can't calculate in parentheses the numbers and all that, if that makes sense. But yeah, the round robin parlay ended up doing pretty well, or decent, honestly, considering it went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Considering it went 5 out of 6 and it was only 0.2 units to make 0.1, I was a little bit pissed. I was like, damn, that's why I don't do these round robins all that often, because considering 5 out of 6 legs, and they were all like minus 200s too. I was like, damn. But hey, profit's profit. You can't complain. We'll take it. 0.1 units profit from there. And then we had the other, the bet that I should have had on the best bets video. I was so pissed. I forgot to include it, but I did place it ahead of time. I meant to have it on that video. It was the Bilal Muhammad plus 7.5 alternate spread in Arman Tsarukyan money line. That was a close one. I will say the Bilal Muhammad plus 7.5 alternate spread. Oh my goodness. It cashed by, I don't know, the skin on your teeth, or I don't know the analogy or phrase or whatever. You know what I'm saying. It was a very close, only one judge. I mean, he literally barely hit this. I mean, 2 judges had 30-27. Only 1 judge had a 29-28, and that's why that bet cashed. So, that was a close one. Yeah, I was stressing about that one for a bit. But yeah, ended up cashing, which was awesome. And Arman obviously cashed there. And then the last 3 parlays that I added, one I added Tagir Ulanbekov live money line. I had the live, and I placed that one early on. I think it was like halfway through the first round. Actually, no, it was later in the first round, because his money line was like a minus 260, I believe, in that parlay. Because I was like, okay, the first round, he looked good. He was having success. I thought he won the first round. So I was like, all right, before the fight, he was like a minus, 220 or something. And then after the halfway through or 3-4 minutes into the first round, he's a minus 260. So I'm like, about the same odds wise, but we know that he just won the first round. Good value. I parlayed it up with Arman Tsarukyan money line. So I had the live with the Arman Tsarukyan, or the live to gear, which is the pre-fight Arman Tsarukyan money line. Parlayed it up minus 189. Obviously, Tagir got beat up in the second and third, got finished, so lost that one minus 0.5 units. And I also had Muhammad versus Gary over 1.5 rounds. Arman Tsarukyan spread minus 147 quarter unit. Cash on that one. I was looking at the one below it. It's on my screen. It's kind of like the green and the red. It's kind of like messing with my eyes. It was kind of hard to tell there. Well, anyway, and then finally we had Ian Gary live money line. I'm trying to think. I don't even remember when I placed that. Ian Gary live money line. I believe it was in the third round, because the odds weren't great. It was like a minus 370 or something. That's why the combined parlay minus 222. At that point, Arman Tsarukyan was like minus I don't know, 650 or something outrageous, minus 700 even. I don't remember. But yeah, minus 222 combined for that quarter unit to bring in 0.11 back. So ended up cashing both of those. I was excited about. I really only pretty much played those 2 because I was pissed about the Tagir in the first parlay there, the half unit on that one missing. I was like, all right, let's get a little bit of motion coming back our way on this one, because I figured Ian Gary at that point, because when I did get that live bet, I believe it was the third round. I was like, okay, he should have this one in the bag. He should have it there. But anyway, guys, that does. Oh yeah, I guess the final slate's here too. This is the pre-slate bets from the best bets video. This was the full slate. If you guys want to see it all in one spot, I think I had this earlier in the video too. I think I just doubled these up. But yeah, pre-slate bets, and then this was my entire slate of the entire night, including all the live bets and things that we added after that video. So if you want to take a look. There it is. But anyway, guys, also, if you made it this far, subscribe for more UFC betting breakdowns. You've been doing pretty well. You've been cashing plays of the week, cashing locks. You've been cashing bets all around, making you guys money. So if you like the videos, please consider subscribing, drop a like, drop a comment. It really helps grow the channel quite a bit. So thank you guys for all the love. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for all the love on the recent videos. It's been totally awesome. I know we got a little bit of a break between the next pay-per-view. We got Thanksgiving week coming up. So take some time off, relax, enjoy the time with your family. Hope you guys have a nice, relaxing week for Thanksgiving. And we'll be back next week to kill some more bets, kill some more picks, kill some more plays with the next pay-per-view card. So in the meantime, it's your boy Jacob from Topside MMA, and I'm out. So peace.